Welcome to the Sports Lounge, brought to you by the Sportsbook at Waterview Casino in Vicksburg.
Save it for the tape. Welcome into the Sports Lounge, and Ray, I'm glad we're in the Sports Lounge because it's getting that time outside in Mississippi.
Yeah. It's always cool in the Sports Lounge, right? We cannot stop. We won't stop. Kind of like the Warriors, kind of like Brooks Koepka. They've been red hot.
Yeah, big time, GOAT moves on the national level, and some exciting stuff here in Mississippi. We got postseason baseball, some quarterback news, really, all across at all levels as it relates to Mississippi. Table for two, always excited for that one coming up, and keeping it simple in game time. We'll see if I can get off the schneid, but that's going to be a classic. It's always a battle in game time.
Well, if you're bringing a good luck charm, there's no person better to do it with the AP's own David Brandt, the best in the business, as we like to say. He's going to talk to us about a little bit of everything, and we're always, honored to have David Brandt here on the show. But before we get to all that, let's get right to it. The Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
Fifth straight appearance in the NBA Finals without Kevin Durant, by the way, who makes him a super team when Kevin's in the game. But he's out to injury. What do you make of this run for the Golden State Warriors?
Well, obviously, when you look at the team as in totality, like the run, 5 straight NBA Finals, I think ISO Joe pulled out a stat. They're 78-29 in the postseason since that time. I mean, they're in rarefied air. They're already one of the 2-3 greatest teams of all time.
No question.
All of that is kind of like, we knew that a little bit, and anyone in the Sports Lounge would have picked the Warriors at the start of the season. Ray, what's interesting, what's fun, what's intriguing about this team is what has happened since Kevin Durant and the way that they look and the way that they play. Draymond Green, this is the Draymond we talked about 3 years ago as one of the top 5 players in the NBA. I mean, I'm looking at this Warriors team, and the way that they play and kind of just the intrigue and the energy behind it, is very interesting to me. So this whole thing has taken new intrigue for the Warriors without Durant.
Listen, the thing that's impressed me the most and made me gain a re-respect, I know that's not a word, but just to respect them all over again. Draymond Green is one of the best players in the NBA. And I think sometimes we tend to devalue him because he doesn't get a bunch of points and assists all at once. But this guy is the engine that makes the Warriors go, if you ask me.
Sure.
Clay is one of the best shooters in the game, except he plays for the best shooter in the game, right? Steph Curry, in my opinion, has completely reminded all of us that not only is he one of the best players in the game, he damn well may be the best player in the game. A triple-double in the last one to make sure that we understand who he is, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that they're doing all of this without Boogie Cousins, who's out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, let's leave Boogie out
KD,
of it. He wasn't a part of the equation.
Whom we've agreed that is probably the best player in the game now. They're doing it without him. It's the old school Warriors that we forgot about, and they're still showing us that this is the team unit. So whereas they can go and give it to KD and say, go get a bucket, and the offense is stagnant, we're seeing the best of the Warriors now. Ball movement, defense, talking it up, transition, right? It's the best of the Warriors. You and I were having a conversation to say, are they better without Kevin Durant? Maybe not, because you can't say Kevin Durant, not putting him on a squad makes him better. But I can say this, they look better.
Well, they're very different, I will say, and the ball moves a lot more, and the players move a lot more, and all of a sudden, Draymond Green can touch the ball and initiate the offense. All of a sudden, I mean, did you see the play the other night? And Tim Leckler did a great job of breaking it down on ESPN. I mean, Curry ran, all around for the entire clock, and just when you thought he stopped running, he was moving again, and we don't see that as much anymore. I think what made the Warriors brilliant in that 73-win season was the team ball, the way the ball moved, and the energy right now. Yeah, you don't want to guard Durant in the half court, and Steph Curry's a monster from 3. But this dude, Draymond, takes your will.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, you
on
watched,
both ends,
you
by
watched
the
the Portland game, those last 2 games in Portland, you could feel them sticking the knife in Portland and turning it and kind of taking their energy. So I'm enjoying this run by the Warriors more, I think, than any of their previous 4. I think it's a lock no matter who they play, Toronto or Milwaukee, that they're going to win it, with or without KD. But it's really a marvel, and I think a statement of what the whole organization is about.
And my last point on this, it just shows the sacrifice of superstars. When Kevin's there, Steph Curry has to sacrifice a piece of his game. Clay does. Draymond sacrifices a lot of his game. Because believe me, Draymond's the point guard of that team. Let's just be real. So when he's not doing what he wants to do, he is making a sacrifice to say, I'll let Kevin be the stud and be the primary ball handler. Now that KD's out, these guys are showing that they're the best at what they do, period. They don't need Kevin Durant to win a championship. It just so happens he wanted to be with them.
Look, we could spend this entire lounge just talking about like the Warriors, and there's a lot to move to, but I'll just say this. What is, I think maybe, I don't know if concerning is the right word for Kevin Durant, but what's apparent is the Warriors enjoy this a lot more.
Question.
Like that team out there, they're having more fun and enjoying this and playing harder this way than without Kevin Durant. I want to ask you about Brooks Koepka as we talk about another guy that really, or a party that seems to be leaving the rest of the league behind. I mean, 4 majors in 8 starts. He defends the PGA. He has back-to-back PGAs and back-to-back U.S. Opens. He's the only player in golf history to do that. And everything else that Koepka has done in this 3-year stretch only equals like Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus. So, Ray, I'll ask you, all week we heard with Koepka, and I heard all of these names, heard them in an hour on the same telecast. Mike Tyson, Tom Brady, Mike Trout, and even all the way Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. Are you on board with these like Koepka comparisons at this point?
On some of them. So it's half and half, right? Tiger, Jordan, Brady, no, because that, in my opinion, is prolonged greatness. Tiger, Jordan, Brady, that's a decade plus of just dominating, being the guy in your sport. But yeah, man, Trout and Tyson, I mean, we're talking a 4 or 5 year window of just nobody can touch them, invincibility. Yeah, no doubt, because Brooks is doing that. I look at it like this. I don't know much about the game of golf, but when you just watch that guy play, there's not a lot of emotion. There's not a lot of, flash to it, but dude just sticks it every single time. Every single time I know he's going to be in the fairway, on the greens, and he's going to make the putt.
He combines that, like I've said a few times, like this is what John Daly would have been like with the right mentality. I mean, he has Daly's game in terms of being able to hit it a friggin' mile, but has a touch that and hands that just few people have. But also, he's got the mentality that I'm going to be a killer, I'm going to be a winner, I'm going to show up for the big tournaments, and winning is everything. He doesn't have a deal because he wants to keep the clubs that wins. He's not out there in the public sort of trying to, promote his image. And like, Ricky Fowler out there, he's in every other commercial. You won't see Brooks in there, but he's got 4 to Ricky's none. And I think the Mike Tyson comparison is a really good one in terms of like coming out and just blitzing everybody and no one knows what to do with this guy for like 3, 4, 5 years. You make a great point on Jordan and Tiger. Brooks has done it 3 years now, has been the dominant player. Jordan did it 2 different stints. Jordan left the whole friggin' game and then came back and dominated again. Tiger reinvented himself 2 or 3 times.
But for what it's worth, man, I mean, he's already tied with Rory, right? For the number of majors, he's won behind like the likes of Phil and
That's what I mean. Like, I'm kind of on board. I'm not like pumping the brakes that much.
So if he does it for another 2 years, man, then we can go ahead and open up the door and say, Mr. Koepka, you can go call your shots with the big dogs now. I just say let's just pump our brakes for a little bit just to see what he can do in other majors.
I think he's on track though. Like I don't see anything that's going to stop with this because he has the mentality, he has the hunger. It doesn't seem to be about like the fame and the glory as much as like I'm gonna prove everyone wrong. And he does, I hate the term he plays with a chip on his shoulder, but Koepka's motivated. Let's put it that way. I wish I wasn't saying it, you know what I mean? That like Koepka's gonna continue to just strangle the PGA Tour, but I think it's more likely than not at this point, which is pretty remarkable.
He's got the juice, man. That's for sure.
Did you say juice?
Juice. Shout out to Juice Clegg, my man.
What's up.
Baseball now. College baseball in particular. We got the tournaments going on, obviously. Postseason look, long term. Who's in the better shape between Ole Miss State and Southern Miss? And then who might be in trouble down the road here?
Well, first of all, like I love the college baseball postseason. Like the SEC tournament doesn't mean anything, but it's a fun event to go to. You know what I mean?
It doesn't mean anything.
No, not really. It doesn't mean anything.
You're right.
I think it can, spark some teams in their program. And when Mississippi State won it the first year under John Cohen, I covered that whole tournament, and you could tell it was a turning point of sorts. One thing about the SEC tournament, and Ray, you know this from covering baseball in Mississippi, a lot of people believe it's harder to win the SEC tournament than win the College World Series because of the depth and the caliber of teams that you get in the SEC. I think who's interesting here is Ole Miss. Because Mississippi State, nothing that they do is going to affect the fact that they're one of the top 5, 6 teams in the country. They're going to host a regional, certainly. They're like a 3 national seed. You see your D1 projections on screen right now. Mississippi State being they're there. And Southern Miss, quietly, your boys down there in Hattiesburg, to the top. They're headed like to the bottom. They've lost their last 3 series. They were really hot. So they're going to have to win the tournament to get in. I'm just interested in kind of what Ole Miss does. Like, they're in the NCAAs, and we'll talk with David Brandt about it a little bit later. But I think that's who I have my eye on anyways. Yeah. I've said for a long time, like, these conference tournaments, what really matters is what you do in the regional, whether you're a 1, 2, or 3 seed. But I think Ole Miss has, like, the most questions going in.
No, listen, I totally agree with you. At the end of the day, if there is a team between the three that we're talking about that their conference tournament can help them as far as projecting confidence and just going in with a good rhythm, it's Ole Miss for sure. They need to get wins under their belt, if nothing else, just to feel good about, going into their regional play. They're not a bad team. They're a pretty decent team, man. It's just they can't string it together. That's the problem, consistency. And you don't get a do-over when it comes to the College World Series and that run that you have to make. So at the end of the day, Ole Miss, absolutely. Like you said, State's fine. They'll be fine. Southern Miss better figure it out or they'll be watching with the rest of us. That's point blank period. But Ole Miss has a unique opportunity to try to put some things together.
State's more than fine. They're very fine.
Yeah.
They are
really
a good baseball team. And it will be interesting to see, like, you have to consider this, again, because there's very little on the line for Mississippi State. How much does Lemonis stretch his team? Yeah. How do you use the pitching rotation, knowing that what's most important is the kind of shape that JT Ginn and Ethan Small are in next weekend. So that'll be something to monitor with Mississippi State. Real quick, a fun story in this state, a great story, Ray. Ole Miss softball. We talk about baseball postseason, and I love fast pitch softball, and the postseason is super exciting. I mean, it really is. Yeah. You get so many intense games, and there's so much noise and so many extra innings, low-scoring, one-run games. Ole Miss is in the Super Regional for the second time in, I think, 3 seasons. They had 2 winning seasons in 18 years. Before Mike Smith got there. So it's just it's a credit to Ole Miss, and we've seen, Ray, like, women's sports are exploding, I think, in this state a little bit.
And Coach Smith is the guy to take this program and prove the caliber of talent that this state can put out. Not only on the local level, when we're talking about making Ole Miss a face in the realm of softball. He can do it. He's only got 3 seniors on this team, by the way, which means that he can.
There's some good ones, like Caitlin Becker.
No doubt.
500.
No doubt. Sure. But like you said, having his first tournament appearance 2 years ago, just missing out on the Super Regional last year and back in it this year, dude, he's putting it together. So now he's turning Ole Miss softball into a brand name.
No question. And we went and spent some time with the Ole Miss softball team a couple of weeks ago with Mike Smith, and they are an extremely confident bunch. And they talked about, when we talked to them a month ago, they said, look, we know we can get to the College World Series, and, like, this is the year. Now, they had to beat Louisiana Lafayette twice on Sunday, and that was a team, Ray, that I think had lost only 6 games. 4 games, not even that. Ole Miss put half of their losses on them in a day than they had all season. So it's an exciting deal, and the fans have gotten behind it in Oxford. So I'm excited to see what they can do. It's a tough Arizona club on the road, but I wouldn't count Mike Smith's bunch out with the talent that they had. But like you said, the confidence and the charisma as well. Well, we're rocking and rolling here in the Sports Lounge. You ready for some table for 2?
Man, it's my favorite segment. I'm interested to see what you're going to say. You said that, before we got started, that this would be kind of a cut and dry deal.
A benign table for 2?
I'm not so sure, man. I feel like you and I are going to be on opposite ends. I'm not saying it's going to be Wingate.
I was about to say, you never know when you're going to come with the tender take.
No, I'm not saying it's going to be Wingate, but it's going to be like Chuck Barkley would say, very interesting. We'll see.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting there. And deep dish as well. A lot of Mississippi quarterbacks, some big names in the news and some big calls as well. We'll hit that next in the Sports Lounge. Stay with us.
Follow us online at Bash Brothers Media and share, like, and follow the show to enter to win a one-night stay for 2 at Waterview.
This guy's John Wiener. I'm Ray Coleman. You're hanging in the Sports Lounge. We got Hack and Hank. We got Josh the Juice. Who else we got in the building, man?
ISO!
We got ISO Joe.
Look, we want everybody to join the fun in the Sports Lounge. It's the hottest new show in sports, and we want everybody to be a part of it. So just make sure you share the show, whether you're on Twitter, give us a retweet. You're on Facebook, give us a like and a share. It's everywhere, really. You can find shows these days, so we definitely want to bring everybody into the Sports Lounge. Let's bring ISO Joe in right now, Ray, as we get into our deep dish and some Mississippi quarterbacks in the news really at every different level. And, let's start with ISO Joe's boys, the Indianapolis Colts.
Nice.
Swag Kelly. Chad Kelly signs with the Colts. And Joe, like, as a Colts fan, I mean, you know enough about Chad Kelly. Like, well, what did this do for you? I mean, he's not about to replace Andrew Luck, but, like, give it to me.
Right, I mean, that's a big thing. He's not replacing Andrew Luck. He's coming in as a camp body most likely. But, you add a little swagger to the room. You get a little swag in the locker room. Obviously, he's got a lot of past mistakes and some interesting stuff in his past that really... It'll be interesting to see if the Colts can kind of change that tune for him, if they can be a turning point for him.
What's the Colts depth chart like at quarterback? I mean, can he?
I mean, you say he's a camp body? Is that
he
it?
said camp, but can he realistically make the team?
I don't expect him to really make the team. Jacoby Brissett is still the backup to Andrew Luck, and Brissett is a phenomenal player. I wouldn't be shocked if we ended up trading Jacoby Brissett this year, which would then make it interesting for bringing in Chad Kelly. Other than that, I would be shocked if the Colts hold 3 quarterbacks on the roster, so I don't really expect him to make it all the way through. But as of right now, Andrew Luck is actually out of OTAs with a calf muscle. So that's most likely why Chad Kelly was brought in.
Timing and opportunity is everything. And I'll say this about Chad Kelly, because like he's not your backup type, right? Like you want the like steady kind of, the game management type. Like Kelly's much more of a high ceiling, low floor, risk reward kind of guy. He had his shot in Denver. Yeah. Like, that's the tragedy, because when you go to Indianapolis, there is no path for Chad Kelly to be on the field. But Ray, he had that shot in Denver. When he got drafted, a lot of people said, now he was a 7th-round draft pick. A lot of people said, he's the best quarterback on the roster right now. Yeah. You had Trevor Siemian and like 2 other jabronis. Like, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Trevor Siemian and who do we have
from
there?
Memphis. I can't think of his name.
Paxton Lynch. That's what I mean. Like, that's a great example. Like, anybody who saw Paxton Lynch and Chad Kelly in college said, Chad Kelly's a better player. Yeah. And so he had every opportunity in Denver and started to really make some inroads, to the point where the Broncos fans were calling for Swag Kelly to be the starter, and he messed that up with the whole, what he beat the dude with the vacuum cleaner, like, that's not a joke. Like, he really did that, you know what I mean? And like, that was it. And so, like, Joe, that's my, I guess, takeaway, or the unfortunate part with Chad Kelly. Like, we loved Chad Kelly in college. He was such an exciting player, such a big-time player, and you give a guy like that a chance as a starter. It's like, not what you want as your backup, but like, I think Denver was ready to roll the dice, and Kelly kind of, messed it up for himself.
Well, here's the one great thing about Indianapolis, and you talk about, being in Denver. Listen, every NFL team has a great locker room, but some are better than others. And right now, the Indianapolis Colts are being touted as one of the best locker rooms in the league, and they really haven't gone after character issue guys. But that being said, they have brought in guys like Eric Ebron and now Devin Funchess, kind of giving them a second shot at redemption. And I think Chad Kelly can find that here. He has now a locker room where he's going to feel really close to everybody. They have a great rapport in that locker room. And so I think it definitely could be a turning point for him in his career to kind of get his head turned on straight.
We'll see.
I hope he sticks. I wouldn't bet on it again at this point. You feel like...
You just got to go with the track record at this point.
I always love a chance to talk a little Swag Kelly. You know what I mean? What a great... go ahead.
Let's play this scenario out. Okay. Not Swag Kelly. Now, we're moving on. Okay. Let's play this scenario. You're the assumed starting quarterback at Mississippi State. Okay. All right. Joe Moorhead comes into you, and he talks to you. He says, "Hey, man, glad that you're ready, but I'm going to bring somebody from my former employer." What's going through your head right now?
I think Keaton Thompson at Mississippi State understands that it's a business ultimately, and that Joe Moorhead, is going to bring in the best players that he can, and even Keaton can understand you need some viable people at the quarterback position, because, beyond Keaton, Mississippi State doesn't have anybody behind them who's played. So I think in one part, if you're Keaton, you say, look, I understand it, and it's part of football, but I don't think there's anybody that can look at this situation and not say Joe Moorhead doesn't like what he has at quarterback, or he doesn't feel totally confident in it, because you don't go get a grad transfer when you've already got 3 quarterbacks on the roster unless you're not feeling great. If he felt great about Keaton Thompson,
that's right,
Tommy Stevens, and we kind of buried the lead a little bit, but like Tommy Stevens, who's transferring in from Penn State, Joe Moorhead's old guy. I think that's the bigger takeaway. Like, we don't know enough about Tommy Stevens other than like he was a backup in the Big Ten, and like Keaton, we saw enough of him last year to say it doesn't quite fit with Moorhead's offense. But I just think the big takeaway is concern that like Moorhead doesn't like anything at the quarterback position right now, or at least is trying to improve it.
Wouldn't bring him in, like you said, if he didn't feel like there was a niche there. I mean, from what we know, I guess this kid backed up Trace McSorley. Kind of talk us through that.
Yeah, so it's an interesting prospect bringing him in because I think the thing to remember is that he had that connection with Moorhead, and that's really, you could talk all you want about how Moorhead didn't like what he has at Mississippi State, but there's one thing that we can all agree on, and that's everyone has kind of said that Mississippi State has a lackluster offense right now. Well, now Moorhead gets his guy. He's bringing his guy back in from Penn State, and let's see if that can change things for him and for this offense.
He gets his guy. His guy that we're talking about was a backup
who
completed 56%. In the Big Ten. And I think part of this, as I think about it, what strikes out to me is like Moorhead kind of like going for who he's comfortable with, who he's safe with. Like when you're kind of, in the foxhole, you look for your guys a little bit. And none of this, I think, like, is that enthusiastic for Mississippi State. Because the other thing to pay attention to is it doesn't always work. Like we've seen grad transfers be successful. In like Joe Burrow last year, Russell Wilson is, famously. But we've also seen like the Danny Etlings, to go back further, Jeremiah Masoli's. Like it's not an easy deal. I feel like, Joe, more often than not, it's not the quick fix that you want it to be.
I wouldn't expect Mississippi State to now jump off the page and become this fantastic offense run by Moorhead. But at the same time, you really don't lose in this situation. Keaton Thompson, obviously, like you guys said, might not have really fit in with Moorhead's offense. So are you really losing out by bringing in somebody that he's comfortable with? I think the answer is no. So in the end, I think this could be a win-win for both of them, Moorhead and Stevens.
And that's what I mean. Like, you understand the move from Mississippi State. And like, if you don't have the players, like, it's a good move to go get them. But it just, at least the takeaway, you know what I mean, is sort of
I wouldn't
like,
be jumping for joy if I'm a Mississippi State fan right now. But
because, again, it's not exactly like Jake Coker or Russell Wilson coming in. I mean, this guy was a backup in the Big Ten. And, like, Joe Burrow's an interesting thing for LSU. Like, LSU's done this with Joe Burrow. They did this with Danny Etling. Why? Because, like, they didn't have the quarterbacks on the roster. And Burrow was better than the guys that they had, but he was still the limited guy that he was at Ohio State. And so, it's a case-by-case thing. It'll be interesting to see, but I don't think you feel great about what it says about Mississippi State's current quarterbacks. And I don't know that you feel like Tommy Stevens is going to take you to the Sugar Bowl, but we'll see. Real quick, speaking of the Sugar Bowl and quarterbacks, there may be another Manning. And there is another Manning, and he got unveiled in the spring game in New Orleans. And are you surprised that Arch Manning, the son of Cooper Manning, looks every bit like all his kinfolk, you know what I mean? Archie and Peyton and Eli.
First of all, ISO Joe and I totally agree on this. The disrespect is real. Oh, yeah. Is it not?
No, it's crazy. Like, they keep bringing him up as he's Peyton and Eli's nephew. No, he's Cooper Manning's son.
Guys, you think it's the first time that Cooper Manning has been
this is his own son.
Archie's son.
This is his birthday, man. This is not the sibling. Okay, dude.
He's not playing wide receiver, though. He's been quarterback.
Fair.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Arch. I can't wait. I love the Mannings. Obviously, as a huge Colts fan, Peyton Manning is enshrined in my life. And as a kid from New York, I grew up watching Eli Manning, so I cannot wait to see what Arch Manning turns into. I'm just excited at the prospect for another guy to continue this Manning legacy that has already dominated the record books of the NFL.
Speaking of Peyton, if you look right there behind
I knew
ISO
that was I knew that was
behind ISO Joe, there's a certain player returning a certain interception that Peyton Manning threw in 2009.
We talk about disrespect.
The disrespect
Every
is
opportunity that I get it, that one was on a tee, man. It was on a platter, dude. Hey, speaking of platter, let's get into table for two. ISO Joe, what do you got? 3 choices, 2 seats.
We got a little mishmash, and let's start off with the NCAA postseason. Obviously, College World Series is coming up, so let's talk about the best postseason. Okay. College football playoffs, March Madness, and then the College World Series.
Okay. College football playoff, because we're in the South, man. It's a college football playoff, right? I'm a basketball fan before I'm a baseball fan, so I got to go March Madness. The craziness that you see from now a 16 seed beating a 1 to the classic 12-5 matchup, you're always going to see some upsets and some historical moments, as I like to say. I don't know if you see that in the baseball College World Series.
I've never been a fan of the college football playoff, and I don't want any part of it in my table. I think that, for one, like, you can never see the game because they're New Year's Eve, and like I'm drinking bourbon in New Orleans, and like they're trying to get me to watch college football games. I think by and large, other than Alabama and Clemson, we've gotten a ton of duds. I mean, Georgia, Oklahoma was great, but the college football playoff has this manufactured feel. Like they still can't get it right, whether they want it to be 4 to 8 when they play the games. Now there's like 16, 17 days between, and I'm kind of like an old school guy, man. Like I think I'm not the only one here where like the BCS has kind of like aged a little better. I think people are kind of, I mean, it's diluted the other bowls so much. I don't know. I've never been a fan of the college football playoff. You love March Madness. I love the College World Series, and I think college football playoff, like manufactured, made for TV money. Like
you didn't enjoy Tua Tagovailoa throwing a last-second touchdown coming in at halftime? No, you didn't enjoy that.
I did enjoy that. I enjoy March Madness and the College World Series more.
Okay, that's fair.
I think
that's
so.
Fair.
Yeah,
you get to pick your own table. I'm just asking. I like to ask questions.
No, it's a good one. I mean, What else you got?
Just a reminder, since we're bringing up the past, that I give you guys 3 options. You have to pick 2, okay? Right? That's for you.
And they're 3 good options. You know what I mean? Like everybody wants to be at the table.
So let's get to the next one, which is a good option. Since we were just talking about Arch Manning, let's talk about the Manning. So we're going to go best Manning, and we're going Peyton, Eli, Archie.
You first, sir.
Now, it's going to be hard to leave off a guy who's got 2 Super Bowl wins, which is 2 more than Archie had.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Archie and Peyton. I think Peyton, obviously, one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks of all time. Yeah. And Archie Manning, as being the patriarch of the dynasty, also a special friend of Between the Pines and the Bash Brothers guys. Archie's legacy has grown so much even after he's gotten done with the game of football. He's never really been done with the game of football, and that's kind of what makes him like, this is football's first family. I'm happy to have all of them at the table, but I'm gonna leave Eli out of here. I mean, Eli's good for like a 7 for 19 for 140-yard, 2 interception stinker every now and then. Like, I don't need that in here, man. Like, give me Peyton and Archie.
I totally agree with you, by the way. I'm just picking. Listen, Peyton Manning, like you said, is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Probably one of the smartest, too, to be quite honest.
No question.
To ever play the game. You can't go against Archie because that's the start of the gene pool, man. That's who gave him the goods, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, you can't go against Archie. And in his heyday, this dude had the juice as well. We're talking about one of the best college football players to ever play. And if they had given him some talent with your New Orleans Saints, who knows what he could have done down there in the Crescent City. So as much as I hate to leave Eli out because he's made my Cowboys look so good on so many different occasions when he just lobs up the gifts, Eli does not get a table. Get a seat at my table.
And what's interesting with Archie is that really the biggest college star of the 3, as great as Peyton was at Tennessee, and Eli being, coming in as a legacy guy at Ole Miss and had a great career. But I mean, Archie with the song and everything that kind of became bigger than life here in Mississippi in the late 1960s, which you can see in The Vet. Just log on to bashbrothersmedia.com/The Vet. Before we move, so Peyton would have another Super Bowl. Yeah. He was in this game in 2009 one time, and he threw a pick, and it's on the wall over there behind ISO Joe.
True that.
You know, I'll give some love to Eli just for my New York boys. We got the glorious Eli face coming out of that.
The Eli face is beautiful.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
It's beautiful.
The Eli face is always like it's the first time he threw an interception, and he's trying to figure out like what an interception is.
I love it. It's the best thing that ever happened to Cowboy Nation.
I can't hate on Eli, man. Absolutely agree.
But in other news, we do have some new Disney movies coming out. Okay. We have a new Aladdin and a new Lion King coming out. So let's throw it back and do the best Disney movies. And we got Lion King, the original, Aladdin, and Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, we can't include the Aladdin remake in any of that. Go ahead.
My wife would destroy me, first of all, if I did not pick The Lion King. It's her favorite movie. I believe my son that's going to turn 1 in a few months, his theme will be Lion King. So I'll just take an L if I don't pick Lion King. So that's happening, right?
Smart man over here.
Beauty and the Beast, it feels like it's the true story of a guy that's going to outkick his coverage. I can relate to that. I outkicked my coverage when it came to my wife. So at the end of the day, Beauty and the Beast gets a seat at my table.
What a take.
Come on, man.
That is like a golden table for 2 take. The Beast outkicked his coverage, and he gets a seat at the table. I almost want to put Beauty and the Beast here because of that, because like I'm all about it, but I can't.
Okay.
Lion King and Aladdin are the two great Disney movies of all time. I'm a big Beauty and the Beast fan. I actually think Beauty and the Beast will end up being the best remake of the three. It ain't gonna be Aladdin. Yeah. I'm excited to see the Lion King one, but I like that the Beast outkicked this coverage. But no, I'm gonna go with Lion King and Aladdin.
Next up, we got best NBA city out of these three, and we got New Orleans, Memphis, and Atlanta.
Obviously, Memphis is going to get a seat at the table. I think that Memphis is just a great basketball city, and whether it's college or pros, and we've seen the way that fan base gets behind the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies at their best is almost like a college atmosphere because, you know, they're the only team in town. It's sort of like small town field there in Memphis. And when I got a chance to go to a few of those playoff games at the Grindhouse with Grit and Grind and Tony Allen and all those guys, it was lit. It was live. Memphis all the way. Between New Orleans and Atlanta, I'm going to go with Atlanta. Nothing about New Orleans is a basketball city. I've gone to New Orleans a lot. I'm a diehard Saints fan. I've never been a Pelicans fan, partly because they weren't around when I was growing up. You know what I mean? It was just the Saints on Fox. But Atlanta's not great, but like it feels more of like a basketball. Like dude, there's nothing in New Orleans is a basketball city. I know that Zion Williamson is there, but like that's why everyone is telling Zion to not go there because it's not a basketball city. I'm gonna go with Memphis and Atlanta.
So we're gonna split on this one, right? And the only reason I say New Orleans is because they have all the makings to be a true NBA city. Dude, they got the attraction. As far as New Orleans, come on, we both love the city and what it has to offer. They have the fan base waiting for a winner. You can't tell me that the Saints, with all the fan base that they bring in, won't get behind a solid basketball team. Now, granted, we got to provide
I don't think they will, really.
The Saints fans are a different breed. I totally get it. We got to provide a winner first. Atlanta, yes, I think they have the makings. Dude, Memphis is just a college town. Let's just be real. I hear what you're saying. I've been to all
so Memphis is out.
Memphis is out.
Wow.
Get out of here, man. Listen, at the end of the day, it's because they don't have anything else to do in Memphis. Point blank, period. They don't have anything else to do.
Go ahead.
It's a college town. You said it. You said it in your answer. So at the end of the day, the grit and grind, that is a joke. Where's the grit and grind now?
There's nowhere.
There's nowhere. So at the end of the day, Atlanta, because of what they can offer in the city, and the fan base is willing to get on board, and New Orleans, because if they would put something consistent together, I'm telling you, I really feel like New Orleans could be a true NBA city. Not right now, but they could be.
The Pelicans name was like a non-starter for me. Like they could be anything, but like it's really hard to get behind. And the Pelicans is a name. The King Cake Baby as like a mascot. Like you could have been the Brass, you could have been the Soul, you could have been like anything, but like the Pelicans. It's the state bird. Like go figure.
They can still fix it.
I would say this on Memphis. Like you're right. You can't be an NBA city when the college basketball team is bigger.
Yeah, I know.
You're right.
That's the tough part.
But it's still better than New Orleans.
I'm just trying to make a pitch for
basketball
atmosphere. I really am.
Zion's going to change some things down there.
He won't, but go ahead.
Speaking of big-time NBA guys, I think we got one more.
Yeah, we got to keep things in the NBA. A lot of these guys are playing in the playoffs right now, but let's talk about where, you know, some of these guys might end up, and let's go with the top free agents. I assume we are going to leave KD off because he's the easy choice. So we're going to go with the Cyborg, Kawhi Leonard, Klay Thompson, and Kyrie Irving.
And this is the one I've been waiting on.
Those are all Ks.
So
see what we did there.
You better have Kawhi. Don't tell me if you don't.
I'm not. Go ahead. Okay? Go ahead. Bring him in.
Kawhi Leonard, because out of the three, he's the best player, right?
Yeah.
If you're the best player on defense and one of the top 5 players on offense, then you're the best player. Listen, man. Golden State better keep Klay Thompson because if they don't, this dude's a game changer somewhere else. Kyrie Irving has proven to us that he will wreck a franchise. In fact, he's shown us that he will wreck two because he technically wrecked Cleveland, if you ask me. So at the end of the day, Kawhi Leonard and Klay Thompson. Kyrie, go follow LeBron or go to New York and wreck Joe's team and be done.
I think you're spot on. I totally agree with you. Now we have kind of agreed on Kyrie here, throughout like our sports lounge discussions. But I just think the main difference in Kawhi and Klay and Kyrie is two of them are two-way players,
Yep.
and Kyrie's going to
Spot
pound
on.
the ball on the floor on offense and give you 40, but he gives you nothing on the defensive end. When you look at LeBron James, when you look at Michael Jordan, when you look at Kobe Bryant, when you look at Tim Duncan, the best players in the game, the championship winners, the franchise cornerstones, the all-time Hall of Famers, they're the best two-way guys in the league. I think Kawhi and Klay Thompson are both of that stratospherically better on the defensive side than Kyrie Irving. Like, regardless of how you feel, like, offensively of what Kyrie brings, and he does have that big shot ability, I'm with you, man. And, like, so I'm going to flip it back to you, and I'll flip it to you, ISO Joe.
Speaking my language right now.
Speaking about the Knicks. You know, I've long said, like, you know, the Knicks, everyone is talking about Kevin Durant and Kyrie. I'd rather bring both of the Warriors over. I mean, I think if I'm the Knicks, like, Klay Thompson is everything that I want in a way Kyrie is not.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm excited to see what the Knicks end up doing, but there's a lot of good options out for them, and I would probably agree with you. I'd go Klay and KD if I had to choose.
Yeah. It is amazing the way Kyrie, sort of in assuming the spotlight, has sort of gotten exposed a little bit and kind of fallen out of there. Now, I don't think anybody, right, is going to, like, say, no, we don't want you, Kyrie.
Sure.
But
you don't want Kyrie to have to be the leader. I think sometimes when people put you in the spotlight, it exposes some things. Not taking away anything from Kyrie Irving. He's a hell of a player, right? For what it's worth, he'll go get you a bucket when you need it, but he's also going to give up one on the other end. That's why he can't have a seat at my table.
3 choices, 2 seats, 1 wild table. It's table for 2 in the Sports Lounge. And we're going to welcome in David. We got to clear out the whole table to bring in Big Game Brandt. David's going to talk about a little bit of everything, some of which we hit already, and get into some more stuff. Stay with us in the Sports Lounge. Welcome in. You're in the Sports Lounge alongside Ray Coleman. I'm John Wiener, ISO Joe, Hack and Hank, Josh the Juice hanging out. And Ray, happy to be joined right now by the best reporter in the state of Mississippi, AP Sports, David Brandt. David, how you doing, man? Big Game Brandt in the house.
What's up, man? Good to be on the show. How are y'all?
We're doing great.
Good, man.
Doing great. David, lots of stuff to get to. It's one reason we love having you on, because we talk about all things here in the Sports Lounge. Mississippi State brings in a graduate transfer quarterback in Tommy Stevens. We don't know enough about Tommy Stevens at Penn State, but what does it tell you, or what's the read on Joe Moorhead and how he feels about the quarterback situation in Starkville?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that he's not totally comfortable with what he has on campus. I don't think that means that he doesn't think Thompson can be his starter, but he definitely at least wants some insurance for the position. And certainly I think when you bring in a guy like that, Tommy Stevens, an older guy who only has 1 year of eligibility left, you're not bringing him in just to sit the bench. You're at least wanting him to have a role, whether it's the full-time starter, whether it's some sort of kind of hybrid role. Stevens, throughout his career at Penn State, he can run it a little bit. He even caught a few passes. He's versatile. He can do some different things. So, but I think that overall what it means is that Joe Moorhead is not completely comfortable with everything he has in his quarterback room, and it would at least like some options and some depth.
David, are you concerned at all, or better question, should Keontae Thompson be concerned at all as far as what his mentality should be, going into the fall camp and just off-season training in general?
Well, I don't guess, honestly. I just think that Joe Moorhead had difficulty running his offense with Nick Fitzgerald, obviously, last year. Nick Fitzgerald is a terrific quarterback, but he's also a very unique quarterback in how he runs the ball, such a talented runner, a little erratic in the passing game. And so you look at Keaton Thompson, honestly, just from watching him play in the times I have, he's a lot like Nick Fitzgerald, except maybe not quite as talented of a runner. And so what does that mean for the offense going forward? It just doesn't seem to bode particularly well. Now, Tommy Stevens, you bring him in. Obviously, there's a level of comfort there because Joe Moorhead brought Tommy Stevens into Penn State. That's one reason why the move made sense. He knows what he's getting. It could be a really good fit. So I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't have if I were a Mississippi State fan, but I would be a little concerned that the offense may not click again in year 2 as well as people are hoping.
I'm getting ready for that, right? I'm steeling myself for another year of great defense and like anemic offense. David, we'll stay in the state and looking at college baseball. The postseason starts, the conference tournaments is always so much fun. In terms of what's on the line, we know that Mississippi State is locked in as a national seed, and Southern Miss on the other side has quietly, dropped their last 3 series. Yeah. They're going to have to win the tournament to get in. But what do you make of Ole Miss and Mike Bianco's squad and the conversation sort of around them as they head into the SEC tournament?
They're one of the strangest teams to try to figure out in the country right now. Obviously, baseball is a difficult sport because pitching matters so much and there's big variations from day to day. But even with that being said, Ole Miss is a difficult team to figure out. They've had some huge weekends. They swept Arkansas, I believe. They won 2 of 3 against a really good LSU team down in Baton Rouge. And then they just get pounded by Mississippi State at home. They don't look very good against Tennessee. They have some weird midweek losses, including one, I think, to North Alabama. So I think the one thing, if I were encouraged as an Ole Miss fan, this team is good enough to beat anybody. Mm-hmm. And they've got elite talent in the lineup. They've got a really good number 1 starter in Will Etheridge. Ryan Alnick as a reliever is kind of interesting too. And so I think they're a little thin in the bullpen. They've obviously been inconsistent, but Ole Miss, I do think, has the ability to reel off 5 or 6 straight wins come postseason. Now, that hasn't been the strong suit of a Mike Bianco team in the past, but, no time to start a trend like now. So I think that Ole Miss is good enough to go very far in the postseason, but as we've also seen, they've lost games that have just made you scratch your head.
Dave, we'll keep that postseason theme going, but switching over to the NBA and the Golden State Warriors, making deep runs is the norm for Golden State now. What do you make of 5 straight NBA Finals appearances, David?
Well, I mean, it's just the way the NBA is structured now. I mean, teams can consolidate power and talent, and players have more power now, so they have a lot more say in who they play with. Golden State, I think, a little bit of a stroke of luck, luck/skill in evaluating talent with guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and everything like that. And I think you add Kevin Durant to the mix. I know he's been hurt, but it's just, we've seen these kind of super teams with Miami Heat and, the Cavaliers there for a couple of years and the Spurs all those years. And once you grab hold of power, you can hang on for a long time. And obviously the Warriors have had a core that's been very successful, and I can see reasons that's good for the NBA and reasons it's bad for the NBA. But I think largely it's good to have those kind of constant storylines.
I will say this with the Warriors, and Mark Jackson talked about it very eloquently in the last, 2-3 games since they lost Durant, is like, yes, they have this super team and talent, but the way that they play, the offense, the heart, the hustle, is I think what has put them over the top, and that's what's been fun to see since Durant went down. Like, I'm not going to say they're a better team, David, without Kevin Durant, but we're seeing those it wasn't fair with Durant, and the Warriors knew it. They kind of just they knew that they were playing with the stacked deck. I think it's been, David, refreshing to see that the intangible qualities of the Warriors, and really I think what makes them truly like this great without Kevin Durant and Draymond Green and the ball moving. I've really just enjoyed watching this version of the Warriors a lot more than the last 2 years.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, Durant's so good at this point, it almost didn't feel like a fair fight, and that Golden State could kind of turn on the switch whenever they wanted to. And I think you're seeing why Draymond Green is such a valuable player, too. These past couple games, you just see it reminds me of the Spurs from 5 to 10 years ago, where they find some guy you had never heard of, and they're a really, Kevon Looney is a really good player. You know what I mean? He's given them big minutes, and there's just guys like that they find, that they bring off the scrap heap, that they can plug in, give you 10 or 15 minutes, and then you put them around those stars, and they find ways to make it happen. And that's an organizational thing. I mean, that's been going on a long time. Like, if you think of the Bulls back in the day, in the 90s, they could find a Corey Blunt or a Dickie Simpkins.
Dickie Simpkins reference, I love it.
Come on now, let's go, man.
Randy Brown in the house.
I knew you would enjoy that. So,
I loved it.
But those are the things I remember about the Bulls. Yeah, they had Michael Jordan. Yeah, they had Scottie Pippen. They got Rodman, Ron Harper, all those different guys. But they would find guys, even if Steve Kerr, who's coach now at Golden State, there's been some a little bit of continuity there with that. Finding guys that might have been discarded by other teams or couldn't quite fit. The Bulls, like the Spurs, like the Warriors, now are finding ways to make guys useful.
I think when I'm 50, my goal is to look like a fat Bill Winnington. I don't know if that's my goal, but that's probably what's coming, David.
I like that.
Yeah. David, as we close and, talking about great teams and kind of great runs, you've become, a really, I was, going to make a joke about being a golf guru, but David, has covered golf now.
For sure.
PGA Tour at the Masters on the national level enough to really be plugged into that as well. We're hearing with Brooks Koepka, Mike Tyson, Mike Trout, Tom Brady, even certainly Tiger Woods and MJ. How far are you willing to go in terms of what stratosphere Brooks is getting himself into and may end up in?
Well, he's obviously established himself as, a big-time player who rises to the occasion. And I know on Sunday, obviously he lost a little bit of that big lead he had, but he pulled it out in the end. And I think you've got to find ways to win. The wind was just howling out there. It was a tough situation, and he found a way to get it done. And I think winners do that. And so, I think back when I interviewed a bunch of people at the Masters, Koepka's really impressive. I mean, he's a guy that is really good and knows he's good. And I don't mean that in like necessarily a cocky sense. I mean, he just knows he's really good. He is very confident in his preparation and how he goes about things on the golf course. And I think that could bode well for a long time. Now, of course, we've seen guys that look like in the very recent past, Rory McIlroy, Spieth, all those different guys look like they're going to win 12 majors and they hit a little bit of a lull. That could certainly happen with Koepka, but I do think that he's got the length off the tee. He doesn't really have any obvious weaknesses, and certainly I think he has a little bit of not the total charisma, obviously, but a little bit of a Tiger-esque quality to rise to the occasion.
Big Game Brandt, the best doing it in Mississippi. Get him on Twitter at David Brandt AP, friend of the program, guest on the Sports Lounge. David, thanks for stopping in, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely, fellas. Take care.
Thanks, David.
Thanks a lot, man. David Brandt here, stopping in the Sports Lounge. Always love talking with David. Really, I think the best guy in Mississippi in terms of reporting on teams, all levels, with the Associated Press. I wasn't ready for the Dickie Simpkins reference, but I loved it.
If he'd have pulled out Jason Caffey behind that, I just would have left him. Dude, but that's how deep his knowledge goes, and he's right. Golden State just puts out talent that you may have never heard of. But at the end of the day, they make things happen. It's like you said, man, guys just show up and they produce when they're needed.
But it's the ideal situation for guys you've never heard of to be great, role players.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's Looney on another team or, Bill Winnington, Luke Longley, like Ron Harper back in the day, they're not who they are unless they have that great team around them. And we've talked about that as well in terms of roster constitution and whole team makeup. You can have your stars, but the whole pieces have to fit.
Built. The other thing that stood out when he talked about the quarterback, the ensuing quarterback battle that's going to happen in Starkville, I said, Shaquille time to be worried. He was like, yeah, he probably should. And he's right. At the end of the day, you don't bring in a transfer quarterback just to sit and ride the pine, especially if you only got 1 year left.
No transfers here in the lounge. It's the same great crew. Ray Coleman, I'm John Wiener, hanging out with the guys. Stay with us. We're brought to you by Waterview Sportsbook and Casino. This is the Sports Lounge.
You are in the Sports Lounge.
Follow us online at Bash Brothers Media and share, like, and follow the show to enter to win a one-night stay for two at Waterview.
Now, you saw the Sports Lounge last week, which I know you did because everybody's watching every week. We brought a beer pong table into the Sports Lounge. It was full bore.
It was fun too. I mean, that besides Jenga, that's probably the most fun I've had here in the Sports Lounge with the beer pong. Man. It was pretty cool.
The beer pong was great. Now look, we've played it all. Everything from NBA Jam to Crossfire to some old, more classics. We spun a wheel. We've got our game wheel now, which we'll spin and kind of see what game we're going to play every week. And of all of those games, Ray, I have only won one.
Well, here's the thing, though.
In the entire existence of the Sports
Here's
Lounge.
the thing.
It's a new day.
I've gotten to the point now where I'm almost winning's so natural to me. I'm not saying I want to share the wealth with you. I don't feel bad for you at all.
You don't. You got to be like Brooks Koepka.
Yeah,
man.
I don't feel bad for this guy at all. But at the end of the day, they need to see you win. Not me. They need to see you win.
Well, they're going to see it this week. We got hit on rocks, paper, scissors. So tell us the rules again.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a classic, right? If you've never played rocks, paper, scissors before, first of all, who are you? But second of all, it's before we had the board games and the virtual reality and the video games.
Old school here.
Right, old school.
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. And you can do rock, you can do paper, you can do scissors. But the rule
That's why
is you
they
got
call it rock, paper, scissors.
But you gotta
Matter
go
of fact.
rock, paper, scissors, and then shoot it. Notice I'm just staying here
Yeah,
because
we
I don't
haven't
want to
showed
give
our
him
hands
any
yet at
strategy
all.
right now.
Now, I will say, Hack and Hank is a bit of a rock, paper, scissors guru.
Is he a legend?
He's like Confucius on rock, paper, scissors. I had 7 days to get with Hack and Hank, and I failed to do so.
Every time?
Our game planning was bad. My film watching was terrible. But we're just gonna rock and fire.
Well, maybe Hack and Hank should sit here and you should go there so he can get you a dub.
I would love to just bring Hack and Hank in and just have him play for me.
But he doesn't want to
But
take.
that's not the way it works
Okay,
here in the sports
okay.
lounge. I'm in the hot seat, and we're getting it off this week on Game Time.
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Let's do
Rock,
it.
paper, scissors,
All right,
shoot.
here we go.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready, bro. All right, rock, paper, scissors, then shoot. You feeling good? How are you feeling, first of all?
I feel terrible, but it's fine.
Okay.
All right. We're about to turn it around, man. This is like deep psyche right here.
It
Like,
is.
this game should be in my wheelhouse, you know what I mean? Thinking man's game, like real cerebral.
The first thing you got to do is be relaxed because at the end of the day,
Come on, and we got the chain ready
Sure.
like this week. Like
Sure.
Game Time's taking off in the sports lounge. All right, let's do it.
rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, rock, paper,
same
scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Boom! One in the can, baby. We're close.
This man
We're
needs
halfway
one
there.
more.
Now, when Corey was in here with Mortal Kombat, I whooped Sonya's, you know
Yeah,
what, the
yeah,
first
yeah,
time.
yeah. And
then,
you were feeling good.
I choked it away to Sonya in Mortal Kombat, and Corey
If
rolled
you
it.
go back-to-back L's and rock, paper, scissors right now,
I know, right?
what are you going to do after that?
I may not come back.
So it'll just be a sports lounge with Ray
I may
Coleman?
not come back. I told you we was gonna put a mannequin in here, man, and like let them play. All right, here we go. Let's get down to business.
Are
I'm
you
finna
feeling
put-
good?
Yeah, I'm about to put this L on that ass. Come on, let's do it. You ready?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ooh, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, damn, I tried to look in your eye, man. I thought I was gonna get it.
He's about to take this L.
Ooh, sudden
Mark
death.
my words.
Pressure's up.
Here we go. If y'all can take his pulse right
Why
now.
do
he
I
would-
feel so anxious right now, man?
all
All right, come on with it.
You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it all day.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Boom! Get it out of here. I saw it coming. We looked ahead. Belichicking that thing. I know you feel good for me,
No,
man.
I do. Honestly, because my man has been struggling. And
needed
this is
it.
only fun if
I
we can
needed
go
it.
back and forth,
I
man.
needed it, man.
Give my man the chain immediately and let's make winners win.
It was a big paper call. Cash me outside. Sports Lounge, Game Time. He's Ray Coleman. I'm John Wiener.
The Sports Lounge is brought to you by the Sportsbook at Waterview Casino in Vicksburg, giving you the edge in sports betting.
Can we get an official report, Joe?
Yeah.
Like, let's go ahead and just put it on the record.
Here we go.
All right, John picks up his second win in a close game. Too.
Yeah.
That was intense. I didn't expect rock paper scissors to be.
I didn't
I
either.
was like, I was driven. It was suspenseful when John lost that second round.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He was sweating.
He
Never
was.
a doubt.
He was sweating.
Never a doubt.
But
Okay.
he picks up that second win on the season.
Now, you were saying,
Oh, I don't think we're going to lose again.
so,
We may not lose again.
like, so is this show broken up in like seasons, or you're saying like?
I mean, it's gonna be like pre-rock paper scissors
Yeah.
and post-rock paper scissors, because like there's a streak. Like you just better get ready for just a whole bucket full of L's, just getting dumped on your head every time you come in the lounge.
you know we're recording this, right?
Hey, the tape doesn't lie, man.
It's true.
Check the tape.
My man, that's all.
Let's see what we're gonna play next week.
Winners get to spin,
I get
baby,
to
so
spin.
go
It's the
ahead.
first time. It's a
Yeah.
new one. We got the game lines. Big shout out to the whole crew
Yeah,
right
yeah, no
here.
doubt.
Hack and Hank, Josh the Juice.
ISO Joe.
We'll hear from ISO Joe in a second. Let's see what we got coming up next week.
Let's see what we got, man. This may be your way in, though, because at the end of the day, maybe the wheel helps decide.
That's what I mean. New wheel, new game.
I don't mind that. How you feeling after you get the chain, though?
I feel legendary.
Ooh, I just asked for this.
He called for it.
I literally just asked for it.
He called for it, and we got it. Maybe the single greatest
Yeah.
video
Yeah.
game ever created, NHL 94.
So you're probably not expecting to hear this from the black guy, obviously, with NHL 94. But listen, Whether I win or lose next week, I still win because I don't know what y'all, if y'all familiar with NHL 94, but there's a lot that goes into it. And I ain't just talking about the game side. This is going to be
with the fights and everything.
With the fights, a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to next week for sure.
There are some of those like seminal, you know what I mean, video games that were out there, like Madden 93.
That's right.
You know, a lot of different ones like The Show. I mean, they go down the list. NBA Live 2005. I mean, who did NHL 94?
That's a game changer.
One
right
of those
there,
games. I tell you what, man, like we have a lot of fun here in the Sports Lounge. I mean, between Table for Two, our fun guests, all kinds of cracks, and then you never know what you're getting in Game Time.
Absolutely, man. Look, and some of these things we still haven't touched yet. Darts, I haven't beat you in darts yet. Connect Four.
You won't. Not happening.
Not in darts.
I told you, you're not getting another W. Like
I just wanted him to say it again, just in case his brother missed it. We're gonna make sure that we get that on camera. See, I'm already manipulating.
When the Saints in 2009, when they went. I see.
You already looked up. I saw you.
When the Saints in 2009, I was like I'm a senior in college, so you can imagine the fuel that I was on most of the time. I'm a senior in college, so I'm living with you like this. And I'm in San Antonio for Cowboys fans, and they were big time Cowboys fans. So the fact that the Saints were just running off W after W, you remember they started 13-0. And like I think about week 6, week 7, like that became my rallying cry, like not losing till next year. And we went on the Christmas break, and the Cowboys just skull dragged the Saints. And then I came back, and I had Tony Romo pictures like cut out and pasted all over my room. And they would hide them like, you know, they hid like Tony Romo cutouts like in my drawers. I was still finding them like 4 or 5 months later. So the fact that the Cowboys beat the Saints, it made me eat my words, you know, not losing till next year.
But this week, you're the man. That's all that matters.
Legend.
Come on now.
Game Time, always fun in the Sports Lounge. Ray Coleman, I'm John Wiener. Let's get to our parting shots. We'll take a few as we leave here in the lounge. Let's ISO, cue it up on the ISO cam.
Oh yeah, NBA is going to be my parting shot, and it's overall, you know, we're about to finish up finals, and I think the NBA is finally going to be fun again. That's my parting shot right there. You know, once KD is gone off of the Warriors, which it sounds like that's going to happen, Klay Thompson as well maybe could leave. You break up the super team there. LeBron's out of the East. All of a sudden, you've got a competitive East, competitive West. NBA is going to be a lot of fun next year, and it's going to be a really interesting offseason.
I'll go with the NBA and stay there. And I want to talk about something that Magic Johnson said last night on First Take, and one of his in sort of the bombshell interview. And Magic Johnson steps down, totally pulls the plug after his first year in LA. When Magic was hired by Jeannie Buss, people said Magic will get stars, but he's not ready to do the work. Being a GM is not easy. It's number crunching. It's traveling. It's the mundane. It's the inane. It's the minute. Phil Jackson didn't have any interest for it. And I didn't think Magic Johnson would either. And when I heard Magic say on First Take the other night, when it wasn't fun for me, that's when I left. It's not supposed to be fun. That's not what an NBA GM is. And the fact that Magic came out and basically proved what he criticized Rod Pelinka for saying, which was that Pelinka was telling everybody behind closed doors, he's not working enough, he's not in the office enough, he's not into the job enough. And Magic basically corroborated and said, the reason I stepped out was it wasn't fun for me. You're Magic Johnson. You're an icon. You're a basketball player. It ain't supposed to be fun as a GM. So when I look at this Magic situation, I think it's on two people. It's on Magic Johnson and the person who hired him in Jeannie Buss, not Rob Pelinka, not LeBron James. It is entirely on Magic. And for Magic to say and cite this as the reason, it just wasn't fun for me. I know you're Magic Johnson, but as a GM, it's part of the job. And so I just think, you know, as bad as the Lakers look in this, the real linchpin and the key in it, I think, was Jeannie Buss rolling the dice with Magic Johnson, who kind of everybody saw this coming. He wanted it to be fun, but in fact, in the NBA at that level, it's a grind. So shame on Jeannie Buss and shame on Magic Johnson and what's happening with the Lakers.
3 for 3 on the NBA. Over my dead body. That's the rumor from Mrs. Benson, the owner of the New Orleans Pelicans and the New Orleans Saints, when it comes to trading Anthony Davis to anybody, in particular the Los Angeles Lakers. If I could have her ear, I don't, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Leave your emotions at the door. Trade Anthony Davis now and trade him for as many picks and players as you can get. The guy's damaged goods, not only physically, but mentally. You don't want him having that same impact of what he brings now to Zion Williamson. You want Zion to be the face of the league. You want Zion to be the face of your franchise. You want Zion to be able to lead your team. He cannot do that if Anthony Davis is in that locker room. Not only that, the guy still holds value. I think Anthony Davis is one of the better players in the NBA. Trade him to New York, trade him to Los Angeles, trade him anywhere. Anybody who's foolish enough to give you those picks and those players, get rid of them now and rebuild your franchise. You're New Orleans. Let's understand that you're only going to have Zion for 4 or 5 years. So take that into account and build for now. You can do that with picks and players. Do it and forget about Anthony Davis. That era is done.
3 good parting shots, all NBA related here in the Sports Lounge, and we like all sports. I mean, when we look back at today, I mean, we hit everything from the NBA playoffs to the PGA Championship in golf, big college baseball right here in Mississippi, all kinds of stuff in the table for 2. So always a fun show in the Sports Lounge. Hey, please make sure you share the show on Facebook, like us, follow us on our page, of course, retweet us on Twitter. We really believe in the show. We have a lot of fun. Our audience is growing all the time, and we want to continue to make that happen. So make sure you share the show, tell your friends about it, and come on in to the Sports Lounge every week. It's always fun catching up with you, man.
Yeah, look, glad to be back for more than 1 week at a time. So glad to be back, man. We're going to keep this thing rolling. I got to get that chain back. I'm letting you borrow it for this week, so we'll see what happens next week.
Not going anywhere. Might as well just glue this sucker right to my chest. But hey, want to say big thanks to David Brandt, Big Game Brandt, for coming in the Sports Lounge. Josh the Juice, ISO Joe, Hack and Hank, our director behind the camera. And as always, Television's own Ray Coleman.
Yes, sir.
The Sports Lounge. Join us next week.